Madame Gazelle's nursery was a place of joy and laughter, but today everything changed completely and mysteriously. All toys disappeared from the room without a trace. Teal traces remained on the floor, mysteriously glowing. Rebecca noticed strange symbols on the walls everywhere. They glowed with bright teal light, ominously pulsing. Danny heard whispers from empty cupboards around him. Voices sounded like distant echoes calling his name. Zoe found an old doll in the corner alone. Her eyes glowed with teal color, brightly shining. Emily tried to open the door outside desperately. The handle was covered with sticky slime dripping. Madame Gazelle searched for children everywhere frantically. She saw only moving shadows dancing around. From behind the cupboard came Labubu slowly, a creature with crosses in its glowing eyes. He began to sing a strange song softly. The melody made children freeze in terror completely. Toys appeared from the air, magically floating. They moved without help or strings attached anywhere. Dolls turned into marionettes, dancing wildly. They danced around the children threateningly in circles. Labubu pointed at children with a sharp claw. Teal rays burst from his eyes, powerfully glowing. Rebecca felt her body going numb completely. Magic was turning her into a toy, slowly transforming. Children froze one by one helplessly. They became motionless dolls, standing still forever. Labubu collected toys in a box carefully. Figures disappeared inside the darkness, completely vanishing. Madame Gazelle tried to stop him bravely. She turned into a toy instantly without warning. The nursery filled with thick fog everywhere. Reality was distorting around them, dangerously shifting. Labubu closed the box with toys tightly. Everyone disappeared in a whirlwind of magic swirling. In the morning, the nursery stood empty. Only toys on the shelves remained silently. Their souls are trapped inside forever. They became a collection of horror waiting. Labubu disappeared into another world silently. The toys remained waiting patiently for rescue. He seeks a new nursery to visit. Yours might be next on his hunting list. Beware of teal toys in your room. They contain trapped souls inside them. If you see a cross in eyes, run away immediately without looking back ever. Captain Dog's fire station was always a symbol of safety and protection for everyone. Today, strange orange light pierced through the windows mysteriously. Peppa and Zoe came for an educational tour visit together. The air was hot and smelled strongly of smoke. Danny noticed a strange figure by the fire truck carefully, an orange creature with flames dancing wickedly in its eyes. Labubu slowly turned toward the children menacingly. His orange fur burned without any visible fire around. Candy felt intense heat spreading across her skin. Hands began turning red from the scorching heat. Labubu started making crackling sounds loudly everywhere. The air filled with sparks flying around dangerously. Zoe tried to step toward the exit desperately. Her legs stuck to the increasingly hot floor. Captain Dog searched for fire extinguishers frantically everywhere. He saw only orange flashes and flames everywhere around. Labubu touched the fire equipment gently with paws. Metal began melting from the intense heat immediately. The station walls covered with black soot completely. Everything became unbearably hot around them all. Peppa looked at her hands in growing horror. They glowed with bright orange flames, spreading. Labubu walked between fire trucks calmly and purposefully. Steps left burning footprints behind him permanently. Danny tried desperately to breathe cool air, lungs filled with scorching heat burning inside. Candy froze in a blazing pose permanently. Body radiated fiery energy continuously without stopping. Labubu stopped before Peppa, smiling wickedly down. Flames in eyes danced with evil intent. Peppa felt the final wave of heat washing. Orange fire swallowed her consciousness completely and forever. The station became a blazing furnace permanently. Children transformed into living torches burning eternally. Labubu sat on fire truck satisfied completely. Fire Empire gained new burning inhabitants today. Parents saw thick smoke from windows outside. Station burned from within, dangerously and uncontrollably. Labubu vanished in brilliant fiery flash. Flames continue burning eternally in darkness. Fire station closed forever now permanently. Peppa Pig's house always seemed safe, warm and cozy, but none suspected what dark secrets hid in the nearby forest. Peppa looks out the window at the dark forest. Something strange flickers between the trees. Mummy Pig calls everyone for breakfast, but Peppa cannot look away from the mysterious forest. George plays with his dinosaur in the living room. The toy suddenly turns by itself. Daddy Pig reads the newspaper at the table. Pages start rustling without wind. Peppa quietly leaves the house through the door. The dark forest beckons with mysterious paths. Susie Sheep comes to visit and rings the doorbell. No one answers. Peppa is gone. A strange black shadow appears between the trees. It moves unnaturally fast through the forest. Peppa walks deeper into the dark forest. Birds suddenly fall silent. It becomes very quiet. Labubu peeks from behind a big old tree. His glowing blue eyes stare intently at Peppa. Peppa turns back, but the path home has vanished. She is lost in the dense forest. Labubu slowly approaches the frightened Peppa. His terrifying smile becomes wider and more frightening. Mummy and Daddy Pig desperately search for Peppa. They call her name, but hear only echo. Grandpa Pig hurries to help in the search. He looks very worried and concerned. Rebecca Rabbit and Pedro Pony join the search. All friends are very worried about Peppa. The forest grows darker and gloomier. Labubu surrounds Peppa from all sides, not letting her escape. The family finds only Peppa's pink dress on a branch. It hangs on the old tree like an ominous sign. Dr. Bear carefully examines the found dress. There are no traces or clues of disappearance on it. Strange sounds are heard in the empty house at night. Someone laughs quietly and eerily in the room. George wakes from a nightmare and sees a silhouette in the window. It's definitely not his sister, Peppa. A mysterious note appears on the kitchen table in the morning. Written in childish handwriting, "I'm playing with a new friend." Mummy Pig cries bitterly, reading the scary note. Daddy Pig hugs his wife tightly for comfort. Children's laughter and voices are heard in the forest depths, but it's not the missing Peppa's laughter at all. Labubu stands menacingly at the edge of the dark forest. George's toy dinosaur is in his furry paws as a trophy. The family never saw their beloved Peppa again, but sometimes at night they hear her voice calling from the forest depths. Madame Gazelle's playgroup was always a place of joy and laughter, but today something changed in the familiar atmosphere. Shadows became longer even though the sun shone brightly. Peppa noticed her shadow moving out of sync with her. George got scared when his shadow began making strange gestures. Susie Sheep tried to step on her shadow but missed. Pedro Pony took off his glasses and wiped them, thinking he was seeing wrong. Madame Gazelle entered the classroom and noticed the children's anxiety. She tried to explain that shadows are just light reflections, but her own shadow suddenly stood up and waved at the children. Everyone froze in horror, watching the impossible spectacle. Children's shadows began separating from their bodies one by one. From the darkest shadow in the classroom corner appeared Blue Labubu. His eyes glowed with blue crosses, piercing through souls. He slowly approached, collecting children's shadows in his paws. Each stolen shadow made him stronger and bigger. Children felt themselves getting weaker with every second. Peppa tried to run away, but moved very slowly without her shadow. George cried, but his tears were colorless and cold. Susie tried to call for help, but her voice sounded muffled. Pedro fell down, his legs no longer obeying his mind's commands. Madame Gazelle tried to protect the children, but her shadow betrayed her. Labubu laughed with sinister laughter, enjoying his collection. He placed all shadows in a dark bag behind his back. Children became like ghosts without their shadows. Shadow Hunter disappeared as suddenly as he appeared. Children remained sitting motionless, deprived of part of their souls. Madame Gazelle couldn't understand what happened to her students. They no longer played, laughed, or dreamed about the future. The sun set, but children's shadows didn't return to them. In the classroom darkness, distant laughter of Labubu could be heard. He was somewhere playing with stolen shadows, creating his theater of horrors. Children remained forever incomplete, waiting for their lost soul parts to return. Mr. Rabbit's ice rink was children's beloved place. The shimmering ice created magical atmosphere. Everything changed forever today. Peppa and Susie came to skate after school. They expected joyful fun on ice. The air smelled of strange, icy freshness. Rebecca noticed mysterious figure in corner. Turquoise creature with fluffy fur and snowflakes in eyes. It glided across ice without skates. Labubu began humming icy melody. His voice sounded like cracking frozen lake. Temperature on rink dropped below zero. Candy felt piercing cold on skin. Her small hands turned blue from frost. She couldn't warm herself up. Labubu slowly touched rink's surface with paws. Ice became thicker and harder than stone. Air filled with flying ice crystals. Pedro tried to remove skates and leave, but laces froze solid as rock. Boy realized he couldn't leave rink. Mr. Rabbit searched for heaters in storage, all devices covered with thick ice. Electricity stopped working from cold. Labubu slowly approached the frightened children. His turquoise fur radiated Arctic cold. Snowflakes in eyes spun hypnotically. Walls quickly covered with frost patterns. Entire room became icy cave. Children felt movement freezing cold. Susie tried to scream loudly for help, but voice froze in throat. Words turned into ice crystals. Peppa looked at hands in horror. They slowly covered with thin ice layer. Girl felt body turning to stone. Labubu calmly glided between freezing children. His steps left deep, frosty traces. Creature enjoyed icy power. Rebecca desperately tried to move legs, but they froze in complete stillness. Girl turned into ice figurine. Candy froze with wide-open mouth. Her breath became sharp icicles, eyes covered with thin ice film. Labubu stopped directly before Peppa. Snowflakes in eyes glowed brighter. He slowly extended cold paw. Peppa felt final wave of Arctic cold. Icy energy completely froze her heart. Girl became part of eternal winter. Entire rink became Ice Kingdom. Children turned into living statues on skates. They no longer felt warmth. Labubu sat satisfied on Ice Throne. His kingdom gained new frozen subjects. Creature ruled eternal winter. Worried parents found rink completely frozen. Inside stood ice figures of children. Nobody understood what happened. Labubu vanished in snowstorm, but cold remained forever in walls. Rink became eternally frozen place. Rink is closed to visitors. Frozen children wait for new friends, ready to share icy world. The toy museum in town always attracted children with its bright displays. But today something changed in the familiar atmosphere of the old building. Peppa came with her family for a tour, unaware of the danger. George admired the antique toys behind the glass display cases. Mummy and Daddy Pig read information plaques about the exhibits. Tour guide Miss Rabbit told about ancient toys with enthusiasm, but her voice trembled when she approached the last display case. Behind the glass stood an orange toy with fiery eyes. The plaque read, Labubu, devourer of children's wishes, found in abandoned factory. George approached the display case and pressed his palm against the glass. Labubu's fiery eyes flared brighter, reacting to the touch. The glass began heating under the child's hand to burning temperature. George pulled his hand away with a cry of pain and surprise. Peppa ran to her brother but noticed a strange glow. Labubu slowly turned his head, following the children's movements. His smile became wider and more sinister with each second. The fire in his eyes pulsed in rhythm with children's heartbeats. Miss Rabbit tried to lead the group away from the dangerous display, but Labubu had already begun his dark sorcery against visitors. He sucked children's dreams and wishes through his fiery breath. The air around the display case became hot and stuffy. Peppa felt her wish to become a ballerina disappearing. George forgot he wanted to be an astronaut and explore stars. Other children in the museum also began losing their dreams. Their eyes became empty and lifeless from the loss. Labubu grew and became stronger with each stolen wish. The display case glass began cracking from his fiery energy. Museum alarms wailed, but no one could stop what was happening. The fire monster almost freed himself from his glass prison. Parents tried to get children out of the museum, but doors locked. Labubu controlled the entire building with his dark, magical power. He fed on children's ambitions, becoming more and more powerful. The flame in his eyes turned into real hellfire. The display case exploded, freeing the fire devourer forever. Labubu laughed with triumphant laughter, enjoying his collection of stolen dreams. Children remained standing motionless, deprived of all their wishes. The museum became his lair where he hunts eternally. Peppa's house always seemed like a safe place, warm and cozy, but no one suspected what secrets were hidden in the basement. Peppa plays in her room with toys. Scratching sounds come from under the bed. Something moves in the darkness. Coral Labubu, with burning orange eyes, crawls out from the shadows, fur covered with growths, wide smile showing teeth. Peppa freezes in horror. Coral growths glow with sinister light. The air fills with humming and strange whispers. Labubu reaches out to Peppa. Her eyes change color. Orange glow appears in her pupils, spreading like infection. George enters the room and sees his sister motionless. Peppa turns with empty stare, no longer herself. Coral Labubu hides behind curtain, watching the puppet. Peppa approaches her brother mechanically, like robot. George tries to run away, but Peppa grabs his hand. The touch burns. Sparks transfer to skin like electricity. Mummy Pig comes upstairs to call children for dinner, finds them with empty glowing eyes, standing still. Coral Labubu emerges from hiding and looks at Mummy. Growths pulse brighter, radiating hypnotic glow. Family members fall under control one by one. Daddy Pig comes home and finds everyone with glowing eyes. Coral growths appear on captured skin. They spread, turning living beings into collective mind under Labubu's power. Neighbors notice orange glow from windows. Coming closer, they also fall under Labubu's influence immediately. Miss Rabbit, Pedro Pony, and Susie come to visit. See friends with glowing eyes and coral growths. Coral Labubu appears before victims. Smile becomes wider, showing teeth, eyes burning with triumph. Village residents fall under control. Orange glow spreads through settlement like epidemic, unstoppable. Coral growths cover houses, trees, roads. Village transforms into single organism under Labubu's command. Coral Labubu sits on throne of corals. Residents stand around with empty eyes, serving master. Growths connect everyone into network. Thoughts merge into collective mind under ruler's absolute power. Orange glow visible from space. Planet becomes covered with growths. Humanity no longer exists as individuals. Coral Labubu achieved goal. World became single organism where every being is just cell. In New World, there is no individuality, only orange glow and coral growths connecting all. The summer day began bright and cheerful at home, but something strange and ominous was floating in the air. Peppa was playing happily in the garden. Suddenly, a mysterious shadow fell on her innocent face. A turquoise creature appeared nearby in corner. It watched with hypnotic eyes containing glowing snowflakes. Labubu approached the girl very slowly. His fluffy fur shimmered ominously in the bright sunlight. Peppa felt strange dizziness and confusion. The world around began to distort and change colors. George ran out to find his sister. He saw Peppa, but something was terribly wrong with her. Peppa's eyes glowed with strange light. Mysterious snowflakes appeared in them very clearly and brightly. Mummy called the children for lunchtime. Peppa turned with an unnaturally wide and creepy smile. The family gathered at the table together. Peppa sat silently with an empty and distant stare. Daddy noticed his daughter's strange behavior immediately. Peppa looked with unblinking snowflake eyes constantly. Turquoise fur began growing on her arms. The transformation was becoming increasingly obvious and frightening. George moved away from sister very fearfully. Peppa made an inhuman sound very loudly and strangely. Parents tried to approach Peppa much closer, but the girl was no longer herself at all. Turquoise ears appeared on Peppa's small head. Her face acquired Labubu's mysterious and frightening features. Peppa stood up from table very slowly. Her movements became smooth and completely unnatural for a child. The family watched transformation in complete horror. Peppa was becoming exactly like Turquoise Labubu creature. Her teeth became sharp and very numerous. The smile turned into sinister and threatening grin. The transformation completed by summer evening completely. Peppa disappeared forever. Turquoise Labubu remained standing there. Labubu looked at family with snowflake eyes. Now he was part of their home forever and always. The new Labubu headed toward the exit. He knew he would find other innocent children soon. The house plunged into terrible silence. The family realized their Peppa would not return ever. Turquoise Labubu disappeared into summer night darkness, but his presence would be felt always and everywhere. Madame Gazelle's school was always a place of joy and laughter. Today, the children stayed for a special sleepover night in classroom. Peppa, Susie, Pedro, and Candy laid out their colorful sleeping bags carefully. The old wooden cupboard creaked ominously in the cold wind. Madame Gazelle went home after dinner time finished. The children remained alone in the dark, empty school building. Susie heard strange, mysterious sounds from the cupboard. The heavy door slowly opened by itself with creaking noise. Glowing indigo eyes appeared from the dark crack. They twinkled like distant stars in the night sky above. Pedro approached the old cupboard much closer. The door suddenly swung open with loud, frightening creak sound. A fluffy Labubu emerged from the darkness slowly. His indigo fur shimmered with magical starlight glow beautifully. Labubu smiled with his mysterious, enchanting smile. His hypnotic eyes mesmerized and captivated their innocent gaze completely. He began humming a quiet, haunting lullaby. The eerie sounds echoed through empty school corridors eerily. Candy felt overwhelming drowsiness from the song. Her eyelids became heavy and completely uncontrollable gradually. The children fell asleep one by one peacefully. Labubu approached each sleeping child with gentle care and attention. He gently touched their foreheads with soft paws. His touch left glowing indigo marks on their innocent skin. Peppa suddenly woke up from the cold air. All her friends slept in deep, peaceful slumber around her. She saw Labubu standing by the window. He gazed at the starry sky above the city below. Labubu slowly turned to look at Peppa. His mystical eyes glowed much brighter than usual tonight. He extended his paw invitingly toward her. Peppa felt strange magnetic attraction to the mysterious creature. Labubu led her to the large window. The glass revealed a beautiful view of the city below them. The window began glowing with bright indigo light. The glass became like a magical portal entrance mysteriously. Labubu stepped into the glowing window portal. Peppa followed him without any fear or hesitation bravely. Morning came and Gazelle found empty bags. The children had vanished without leaving any trace behind them. Only small handprints remained on window glass. They glowed with faint indigo light in the darkness. Labubu watched from the starry sky above. The children became part of his stellar collection forever now.